This episode is brought to you by Mortgage Workflow Partners and the Mastering Encompass series, both for users as well as administrators. You can find out all the information about it over at masterengencompass.com. Also, if you'd like to check out what we're doing on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel using the @MasteringEncompass handle. And make sure you stay up to date on all the information, not just with podcasts, but also video content that we bring to you as often as possible. Now let's get on to the episode. Hey gang, Larry Bailey here, Mortgage Workflow Partners and Mastering Encompass. Out of the gate here, it is the beginning of January. We've only got about 8 weeks or so before the ICE Mortgage Technology Experience 25. We're going to be there in the booth. Make sure you stop by and check us out. Also, if you're going to go there and you want to actually take all these conversations, turn them into actions, stay one more day for our wrap-up event. We are going to do an entire day of workshops. Please see the calendar event for details. It's $500 because, damn, those rooms are very expensive at the casino, and I'm just asking you to help us pay for the day. It's fully catered, drinks, snacks, the whole thing. It'll be a lot of fun there in the casino. Also, make sure that when you're there, stop by our booth for your swag bag. We've got these cool backpacks that are going to be there for you. We've got some other stuff to give you to make your conference as productive as possible, with some notebooks and cups and mugs and other tchotchkes and gadgets to help you along your way. This is all about what happened last week in the market. And listen, December brought big upside, job surprise. It wasn't something that the markets really liked in the moment. Markets have recovered a little bit. The 10-year Treasury is at one point hit its 15-year high. Lots going on here. And listen, there still are signs. The important thing is there's still signs of weakness elsewhere in the labor sector. Home prices also continue to appreciate on an annual basis, which is great for homeowners, really tough for people who are trying to get into the housing market. Let's go through these stories. First one is big upside job surprise. The next story is private sector job growth hits a 4-month low. The next story is increase in November job openings, not the whole story. We've got the next story with holidays likely impacted unemployment filings, as usual. The next one is uptick in annual home appreciation forecasted. We've got a family hack of the week. And then we're going to talk about what to look for this week. So here we go. We've got this first one. This first story is big upside jobs surprise. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that's the BLS, it reported that there were 256,000 jobs created in December, which was well above estimates of 160,000. Really, it's great for jobs. Markets didn't like it so much. Revisions to the October and November reports shaved 8,000 jobs from those months combined. The unemployment rate fell from 4.2% to 4.1%. So what's the bottom line here? December's headline job growth figure will always be subject to revision in the next two reports, so we'll have to see if the data actually remains as strong as it initially seems. However, this report had a different tone than the softer labor sector data we've seen in recent months, as it showed strength on multiple fronts. This included an increase in the number of both full-time and part-time workers after both declined in November. One notable downside to mention in this report is the average duration of unemployment rising. It rose to 23.7 weeks. This is the highest amount since April of 22 and coincides with the elevated trend we've seen in continuing jobless claims. The next story is private sector job growth hits a 4-month low, and on screen you'll see the little image there brought to you with information from ADP Employment Report, which, by the way, if you're listening to us on podcasts, thank you very much. I do want you to see the video, so check out everything over at masterengencompass.com. If you need an account, it's free. If you were used to seeing this on Mortgage.community, yep, we changed it. We're bringing you focused information over at Mastering Encompass. Why do you need to know this if you're just trying to master Encompass? Because you're an admin and you need to know what's going on in the marketplace to effectively guide your company. Information is knowledge. Knowledge is power. You want power. So here we go. This next story, again, about ADP. ADP's employment report showed that private sector job growth was weaker than economists had forecasted in December, as employers added 122,000 new jobs versus the 140,000 that were expected. So it's weaker, right? This marked the lowest number of new jobs added in the private sector since August. Job growth that was previously reported from November was 146,000 to the positive, and that was unrevised. Bottom line in this part of the story is the bulk of hiring came from the services sector, which added 112,000 jobs, and from large businesses with 500 or more employees. The small businesses, guys like me, with less than fewer employees, added 5,000 jobs. So I can tell you in December, we added 5 people. So I was in that number. Though this was only a modest gain, it was an improvement over losses that had been reported for small businesses in recent prior months. Wage growth was also moderated for both job changers. There's a 7.1% increase from 7.2, and job stayers, a 4.6% increase from 4.8 after an unexpected rise in November. Stayers saw the slowest pace of gains since July 2021. Wage growth was also moderated for both job changers and job stayers. The job changers rose 7.1% from 7.2%. The job stayers rose 4.6% from 4.8% after an unexpected rise in November. Stayers saw the slowest pace of gains since July of 21. This next story is about the increase in November's job openings, it not being the whole story. And the latest job openings and labor turnover survey, which is the JOLTS report, that showed that job openings rose from an upwardly revised 7.839 million in October to 8.098 million in November, which was above what economists had forecasted. However, the hiring rate, that fell to 3.3%, while the quit rate also fell to 1.9%, putting both at over 10-year lows, not counting COVID. Those are really, really low. I mean, we've seen numbers over the last couple of years we've been doing these market reports. Those by far are the lowest, as it says. Bottom line in the story is while Fed watches this report to monitor slack in the labor market, of course, there are flaws in this data, just like most data. The increase in the working from home means job listings are being posted in multiple states more frequently. As a result, they're being overcounted in the JOLTS total, so the report may be weaker than the headline suggests. In addition, the low quit rate is also a sign of weakness because it suggests people are seeking fewer opportunities to pursue, or seeing fewer opportunities to pursue, This is also reflected in the job openings to unemployment ratio. Who knew such a thing existed, right? Which compares the number of job openings to the number of unemployed persons. This is like econ stuff, right? So if you're an econ, you're like, duh, Larry, of course it exists. That ratio now stands at 1.1, which is a big decline from the peak above 2 that we saw in 2022. And this shows that a labor market is cooling. When that ratio gets closer to 1, I suppose it's retracting if it's below 1. Here's the next story. Holidays likely impacted unemployment filings. So the number of people filing new unemployment claims fell by 10,000 in the latest week, with 201,000 initial jobless claims being reported. Continuing claims rose by 33,000 as 1.867 million people are still receiving benefits after filing their initial claim. Bottom line here in this holidays impacting unemployment filing story is people often put off filing for unemployment if they're traveling or busy during the holidays. This could have skewed the both data sets for initial jobless claims measured in the week of New Year's Eve and day, while counting claims measured from the previous week that included Christmas. Again, if you've never had to do this, these things are like IP track now, so you can't just file unemployment like when you're on holiday. Government usually has a problem with that. However, the slowdown in hiring we've seen has been persistent, right? With continuing claims now topping 1.8 million for 31 consecutive weeks. I feel like the count from Sesame Street, we started at 1 and we're already up to 31 here consecutive weeks. This also suggests people are experiencing longer bouts of unemployment as new job opportunities have become harder to find. Next story, uptick in annual appreciation is forecast. CoreLogic's home price index showed that home prices nationwide were essentially flat in November, rising 0.06% from October. Prices were also 3.4% higher when compared to November of 2023. So when we look at this, CoreLogic, is usually the conservative one out of the bunch in their forecasts. So the large revision upward for the annual price is noteworthy. What happened was CoreLogic forecasted that home prices will fall 0.2% in December and rise 3.8% the year going forward. And that's up significantly from the 2.4% growth forecasted in previous reports. So they previously it said 2.4%. Now it's like, oh, no, we mean 3.8%. So well, that's noteworthy. The last appreciation data from CoreLogic and other major home price indices like the Case-Shiller and the Federal Housing Finance Agency that showed that homeownership continues to provide opportunities for building wealth through real estate. It also shows that things are still hard for people to latch onto. So as I've always said, if you find a deal, you can afford it, get it. Get it. You got to live somewhere. Family hack of the week, gang. So if you are watching us on video, check out the video here. This recipe is for a banana nut muffin recipe. It's courtesy from the Food Network. Yields 12 muffins. If you're listening to me on podcast, head over to masteringcompass.com. Check out the Family Hack of the Week recipe right there on screen. Take a screenshot and do it. Let me know how it turns out. I have yet to have anybody tell me that they made something on one of these Family Hack of the Week food recipes. I also haven't done it, so plenty of blame to go around on that one. Gang, it's the middle of January. Here's what we're looking for this week. We've got inflation data that will make headlines starting Tuesday with the producer price index for December. The Fed will be closely watching when the consumer price index follows that on Wednesday. Thursday brings several important reports, including update on December's retail sales, the latest jobless claims, and the home builder confidence for January. More housing news will follow on Friday with December's housing starts and building permits data. Okay, so that's the end of that. Guys, if you're headed again to the ICE Mortgage Technology Conference, if you sign up for the wrap-up show, make sure you stop by your booth, get this fancy backpack. It's actually a phenomenal backpack. I love it. We've been giving these things out to our clients and to our staff, and I've got a couple of them, and so they're really cool. And I look forward to seeing you there in person. And thank you always for paying attention to what we're doing here. Hopefully this is making sense. And I also hope you make it to masteringcompass.com, sign up for a free account, and check out the new community there. We'll see you. Bye-bye now.